Hey team, I'm excited about this conversation that we're going to have today on artificial intelligence. I think it's a little bit different from the normal episodes we're doing, talking about angels and spiritual gifts and the Holy Spirit. It's a little bit more culturally relevant. So if you like these kinds of conversations and you want to see more of them on the podcast, please let me know, whether it's a comment or you just message me. And also, if you want to support this podcast, one of the best things you can do is rate it. Give it however many stars you think it deserves on whatever platform you're listening from.
What would you do if this was the world's last night? If tomorrow God cracked the sky and everything you see folded up like a storybook? Would you be caught doing what God purposed you to do? Welcome to the World's Last Night podcast. My name is James Thayer, and I'm an evangelist out of Nashville, Tennessee, who is passionate about seeing people have an authentic encounter with their Creator. Jesus still lives, still saves, still heals, still delivers, and I can prove it.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the World's Last Night podcast. My name is James Thayer. I'm a child of God here in Nashville, Tennessee, and today with me in the studio is my friend Cason Anderson.
What up, y'all?
Now, Cason and I, we go, well, at this point, way back. We were just talking about how fast time flies and how old we're getting, but I think I originally met you in CAG. Or was
Yep.
So we had this like Bible study called Cinema and the Gospel. Bible study. I use that very loosely.
I tried to turn it into a real Bible study for a minute. If
Did
you
I
remember.
shoot that down, or
No,
it
it
was
just like that.
It?
You were like, oh, it's a little too deep.
Yeah. Well, okay. What I will tell you though is out of CAG, which by the way, Cinema and the Gospel, we basically had all these filmmakers would come over. And we would watch a movie. It wasn't like Christian movies. Most of them were not. Most of them were the opposite of Christian movies. And we would watch it and then analyze its themes and discuss it.
It was a lot of fun. Like, I really, really enjoyed that.
It was really good. I think, honestly, one of my favorites, like it stands out to me, is Dread. Because it's like, that's not like
that was
movie.
one I missed. I was so
Okay.
sad. I still haven't watched that movie yet.
Yeah,
I was mad to miss it.
It's dark. But you can draw dark themes, and compare it to scripture and all that. And also, this was the group that we were in where I was first introduced to Alfred Hitchcock because of our friend Brett. So, yeah.
Big fan of
We
Hitchcock,
watched
that
Rope. We watched Rear Window. Maybe a couple other ones.
I think he did Psycho, I think.
Psycho, yeah.
I feel like we watched Psycho, yeah.
Now I'm cultured in filmmaking, basically. But we met in that group, and actually... just a cool testimony about that group. I don't know if you know this, Cason, but for my filmmaking career, most of my best jobs came out of people that were in that group.
Really?
Yes. So the place you used to work at, from that group, that was a contract, it was a couple year long. And then one of the Fortune 500 automakers, probably Fortune 15,
Okay.
I got from someone that came, David, if you remember David.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Came out of that group.
Okay.
And even whenever I did work for Awana, that actually came, you can trace it all the way back to you and
Oh,
Brett.
yeah.
Because that came through the place you used to work at.
Okay, yeah.
So
I gotcha. Yeah. Okay,
the
'cause
Lord,
I know. Yeah.
the Lord
okay.
definitely provided from the friendships that I made there. Well, Cason, do you want to introduce yourself, tell people what you're all about, what you do, and also I want them to know what you used to do.
Yeah.
Like a lot of IT, but go ahead.
All right, so right now I'm on staff at a church here in Nashville. I'm the operations director, which is just a fancy way of saying I handle a lot of logistics for our church in terms of systems and facilities, human resources, stuff like that. I've been in this role particularly for a little over a year now. I was doing some part-time stuff for the church before that, but I've been full-time with the church for a year. Before that, I worked for more than a decade for a local Christian publishing company that James kind of talked about. And while I was there, I wore a lot of hats, but they were all about technology, all about media. So if it touched digital media or if it touched web technology, I had my fingers in it. So things from websites to videos to podcasts to major system transitions for Salesforce transitions, all kinds of technology related things. And so for more than a decade, that's kind of what I did before jumping into full on church world,
full on ministry. I thought about bringing you on for this topic because of your proclivity to IT, Dare I say the word nerdum?
Yes.
Okay.
I own that 100%. No question.
Cason and I, we've also done a lot of LAN parties in the past. You've been part of those. Back even when we're playing Age of Empires. Did that one at my brother's house. I don't know if you remember that. It was like the first one I think you came to.
I do.
And so it's always good to have a guy that can network, who comes to your local area network party. Someone who can troubleshoot and knows PCs.
Yep.
Which is this, that's my people. I got really deep into that in middle school and high school. I was programming websites in HTML in elementary school using Notepad.
See, that's impressive. It wasn't until high school for me, so that you were doing it in elementary school.
I was learning it from my brother, my older brother.
Oh, okay.
So it kind of got passed down. And then I was programming Counter-Strike servers and creating StarCraft maps with like if-then statements and stuff. And there's
Boolean logic.
Yeah, there's a deep recess of nerdom in me somewhere. But this topic we want to talk about today, guys, is AI, which is artificial intelligence. And I really think it's transforming our culture in so many ways, economically, socially, even faith, because people are using AI to write their sermons. I want to talk about that. And one of the reasons, actually, Cason, that I thought, oh man, Cason would be so great for this, is because AI has me thinking a lot about the third Space Trilogy book by C.S. Lewis.
Oh, yeah.
That Hideous Strength.
Yeah.
And I remember after I read that book, I told you, I was like, it wasn't that good. And then ever since I've read it the one time, I want to read it again because I feel like it probably was good and I just wasn't mature enough to understand it.
Yeah, that one's a tricky one of all of them. I feel like the one that... Of those three books, the one that most people latch onto is one of the first two. Depending on your moods, you'll latch onto one of those. And everyone that I've ever talked to, especially if they read them when they were younger, they're like, that third one though, what was that about? But
like Merlin.
Yeah, like Merlin coming out of nowhere in the third act, and you're like, what? But if you go back and read it with a little bit of maturity under your belt, it takes on an entirely different flavor. And hilariously enough, I was listening to a podcast not too long ago, like a purely secular podcast, and they were analyzing That Hideous Strength because they were tracing it back as the precursor to A Brave New World in 1984 because C.S. Lewis technically predated them, but was pitching very much a similar kind of dystopian vision. And so they were like, hey, C.S. Lewis was the first one to do that. So let's look at what he said and how predictive it actually was for a lot of the things that we've seen crop up in culture. Now, of course, didn't get everything, but man, it is almost prophetic in a lot of ways.
C.S. Lewis had definitely the spiritual gift of wisdom. And so much of what he wrote, I would say, was absolutely prophetic, even if he maybe would not have ever said that about himself. Now, I don't want to really butcher the third book because I only read it once, but what I remember is it was actually kind of a warning on academia and specialists, a society ruled by specialists. And so you had think Cambridge, you had university professors and the top elites, and they're getting together, and through science they want to make the world a better place. Well, one of their projects is reanimating a dead head, a corpse head. Spoiler alert. Yes. It's okay.
Yeah, no, yeah.
They're reanimating.
Yes, they are.
If you haven't read it, it's it was written 80 years ago.
Yeah. Go read it. It's great.
Yeah.
And it's not like an end spoiler. That happens. You find that out about.
Yeah, we already spoiled Merlin's.
That's true. That's towards the end. Yeah, exactly. We spoiled so much of this book already. You should still read it.
But, okay, they're thinking they are, through science, bringing this dead person back to life, which is so interesting. We think false resurrection, and you think Revelation and how the second head of the beast, it dies. There's this false resurrection, and what turns out is that science has not resurrected the dead body. There's a demon that has possessed this head and is speaking to him. They're getting all their instructions. They think through this wise whatever. They're getting it all from the demonic.
The author of the Screw Tape Letters, of course, having this as the plot twist in his novel is no surprise.
So then I thought about AI, and I was like, have we created something that everyone is putting their affections, they're going to artificial intelligence to get answers instead of scripture, instead of the Holy Spirit? What if, maybe, just maybe,
it ushers in the Antichrist. And Satan uses AI to control, manipulate. I mean, is that really just too far-fetched, Cason? What are your thoughts?
I mean, on the one hand, it's not impossible. But I think at the same time, everyone, if you look kind of back at the history of our face interaction with lots of technology, a lot of people have always feared like that next piece of technology
would end it.
Would be like the Antichrist thing, whether you're talking about like, people were talking like books would do that, or like television or radio or like the internet.
The internet.
Right? Like, so like
Social media, though, is pretty close.
right. With social media and now AI is kind of like another layer. It's hard to even distinguish now because there's so much cross connection between what's happening in social media and what's happening in the AI space that like you almost can't even separate them anymore to a degree. But like it's always been the next thing is like, ooh, that's the end. That's, you know, credit cards. That's going to be the mark of the beast, right? There's always been this kind of like, Now, does that mean it's impossible? No. But I liken it more like I had invited you to, you couldn't make it, it's perfectly great, but the poker night I hosted the other night, right? I actually asked my guys, because I knew we were going to have this conversation, I was like, so we're talking about AI, do you think there's a ghost, right? Because in nerddom, right, there's always been that question about, is there a ghost in the machine?
Yes.
Is there even Tron, whether you like those movies or not, like is playing with that question of, is there life inside the machine? Is the ghost, and so like, is there a ghost in the machine? And is the ghost like spiritual? Just bouncing that, like, I don't know, like, is it possible? Maybe. Am I sure that is the case?
Maybe not yet.
Maybe not yet.
Wouldn't you want the whole population to get used to it first and then start feeding it? Yeah, like Jesus never was a real human being. You know, like it can control that kind of information. Like if you're all hooked on it, that's like your source and your pipeline of info.
Right, but that same argument has been the exact same argument people have made for like radio. Like if everyone starts trusting what they hear on the radio, well then someone controls the radio and they're going to control what you hear, right? TV, same thing. Internet, same thing. AI, so that articulation of the argument, when someone's controlling the flow of information, that's how the Antichrist is going to do their thing. Well, I mean, fair. But is AI that stream that's finally going to come around, and that's the way the Antichrist controls the flow of information? Maybe, but maybe it's going to be something else entirely.
So one of the things we know about the end times is those who do not have whatever the mark of the beast is cannot buy and sell. And I don't know if you've recognized, maybe in the past decade, 20 years, we've seen people like PayPal specifically,
like the deplatforming, will
not let you use their
debanking.
Services. Yes, and banks freezing your assets based on your political beliefs.
Super scary in Canada, where that's happened a lot. Like it happens a little bit here, but there's been some really scary.
Can you think of any examples, any specifics?
Well, there was a couple of years ago, it was highlighted in some of the news I was following. Like there were some truckers, like protesting some economic thing that had happened. And they they were just protesting, but the government used some of its laws that was like classifying their protests as like terroristic acts. And then so you just have these blue collar truckers who literally were like getting locked out of their bank accounts. Yeah. Like it's kind of scary. But like that was Canada, to be clear, right? But I mean, sorry, Canadians.
But
right?
Canada's
your
not
government's
too far
doing that.
away. Like it's still a Western power.
Right. And some of the stuff happening in the UK, scary too. Like who is, is the US? That's kind of like our grandfather, as it were. Scary stuff happening there too.
That old guy. Yeah. Another aspect of this I want to talk about, and I know I'm bringing like a lot of different things. I feel like maybe eventually we'll get somewhere. I just like this conversation though, is social credit score systems. So in China, for example, your social credit score, how submissive you are to the state, directly impacts your ability to travel, your ability to be, what social areas you can go to, what work you can get. And so I see that as another aspect that...
Which has nothing to do with AI, by the way.
That's correct, but
it's an example of exactly the kind of system, right, that we see kind of being pitched in Revelation. So like, oh, that's kind of happening. Now, is it global
Christian,
yet?
You can't travel. If you're a Christian, you can't buy and sell.
Right.
Now... let's put all the pieces together, Cason. So you have a extremely powerful written software code that recognizes faces. That thing knows everything about me. Right now, people are like ChatGPT. They're making caricatures about themselves. Everything you know about me, make a caricature. And it's like crazy accurate. I'm sure it knows all your fears, all your hopes, all your dreams, because you've probably projected them into that system. Could you foresee a future where governments use artificial intelligence to control populations in that regard?
Oh, they could certainly try. The question is how successful will they be? I think if we want to get into some of the weeds on the conversation with AI, the question is it as advertised? And to me, that's like the crux of, is AI really going to be like, what are the real dangers of AI? Is the question is, if it is everything some people think it's going to be, then that gets super scary very quickly, and maybe. But I think on some level, the hype about AI, my gut's telling me, based on things I'm seeing and based on talking to other people who are working in various productive spaces, that, I don't know, I think we might see an AI like bubble burst, that some of its hype and smoke without much fire. Not that there's not going to be useful uses for AI, but this idea that it's going to keep like growing and keep getting more powerful and keep getting smarter, they're kind of hitting diminishing returns on that already. Anyway, so that's not to say like a government can't use AI tools to do things and continue to build like a credit score, and that if we ever hit that one world government that starts to use all of these tools in combination to like integrate that kind of vision we see of like the Antichrist government, well, of course that could all happen, but it's Antichrist like as the singularity that's gonna, and is Antichrist, is AI the like singularity that's gonna make that happen? I don't know. Yeah. I'm not sold on that yet. We'll see.
Yeah, I guess I'm pitching two conspiracy theories here side by side. One is the Antichrist might use this system, and the other one is that demons might use this system.
Right.
The ghost in the machine side.
Right. Well, I think there's more. I think there's a little bit more merit to the ghost in the machine side, but even not as necessarily the ghost in the machine, right? Like, anytime you're dealing with, and this is like, take a step back and even table AI specifically just for a second. Okay. Whether you're talking about like any kind of media use, like the enemy uses that all the time. We're talking about movies, television, but right, like
weaponizes it.
He weaponized like, and so is that thing itself always evil? Does it always have some spiritual element attached to it, or is it the enemy using it to mess with us? Does that make sense? Yeah. I think there's plenty of instances where the thing, the book, the movie, some of it may be bad, but not always. Sometimes there's perfectly fine things, media-wise, tool-wise, technology-wise, but the enemy uses that to like latch into us. Does that make sense? And so I think there's a context in which maybe AI gets used in ways by the enemy that met Jack with us. Social media, I think, is a great example of this. Like, there are perfectly fine ways to use social media, maybe even to build the kingdom of God. But then there's perfectly terrible ways to use social media that have nothing to do with building the kingdom of God. So which is like, what are you going to do with it says more about who you are and where you're at with your own relationship with the Lord than it does about the thing itself always. Now, even social media is tricky because who's got their thumbs on the scale with the suits at the top of the ladder controlling what's happening, like in the boardroom making decisions about policy. Like, there's issues on that level, but at the basic line of just using technology as a tool, the enemy can use it just as easily as we can for good. So the enemy, AI, to me, I see it in the same way, right? Like, the enemy could totally, like this idea that, for instance, these people like using AI like a friend. Come on, right? Like, what are you disconnecting yourself
or
from?
A lover? I mean, like,
a lover. Like, just jumping straight into it. That's just replacing like pornography, right? AI generated pornography. Like, pornography isn't anything new. The enemy's been using that
since Stone Age,
since the start. But AI like turning that and turning it up to 11, right? Yeah, sure, the enemy could absolutely do that. But does that mean all uses then of AI are just that? Not necessarily. Does that the fact that AI can be used in that way mean there is a ghost in the machine? I don't know. Like, I don't know that A leads to B, strictly speaking, in that sense. But it's clearly a danger in that you got to know, anyone can pull up ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever LLM and just start talking to it. Like, and if you start treating that like it's your friend, I mean, what's that doing to you? What's that doing to your heart? And who is telling the chat, right? We already know, it's already super well documented. We're already starting to understand that social media is built to gamify our emotions. Yeah. It's not healthy for us. Like, I think, I read the comparison the other day and I think it's accurate. I think someday we're going to look back at social media like people look back at cigarettes. Like, yeah, it's kind of like a vice and it wasn't good for us. Like if you use it, you use it, but
everyone's doing it.
but yeah, everyone's doing it, and if you use it, you use it. But now we know it causes cancer, right? Like,
Yeah.
social media is going to be kind of like that, and maybe to a degree, certain uses of AI, same thing. If you're going to use that as your friend, like, it's just kind of like a solipsistic, narcissistic, just scratches every, you know what I'm saying? It's just tickling your ears.
Yeah.
It's not a real person. Is that a real relationship? You know?
Or is it, Cason?
So it sounds to me your main take on AI is not that it's this big behemoth monster thing that really
Skynet.
Yeah.
I don't think. Yeah, I don't think we are anywhere near like Skynet, Terminator, like super singularity levels of AI. Like just last week someone wrote some like thing that went viral for a minute on X and some other places on the internet, like AI is changing everything. And then you do a little bit digging and say everyone's talking about this article. And then you do some digging, and the guy who wrote it is like the CEO of an AI company. So like there's a very way, and there's all these conversations are happening, and the people who are really pushing it have a vested interest in pushing it.
Yeah, wow.
Right. So is the question, is it really going to change everything, or is the people who really need investors to think it's going to change everything, or the ones who are saying it's going to change everything? Where's the real math coming from? How sustainable really is it as like straight dollars as a business model?
It's a failure right now, right? It costs too much to generate.
Costs too much. So when people, because eventually that Goldilocks train of angel investors, they're going to want return on their investments purely from a dollar's perspective. So then what?
Then they monetize you, Cason. Then
But
AI
how do-
monetizes you.
Well, but so
sells all your
that's something
information.
I was talking to someone, because I'm not going to drop names on the podcast for people we haven't talked about, but like a mutual friend of ours who works in this space, who uses AI tools for video production, like is like kind of ringing the bell at where they work, because they try to use AI as a cost offset, but he's projecting based on things he's seeing in the marketplace that it's not going to be cheaper within the next 18 months. Like that the cost of credits is going to skyrocket, right? Like, yeah, it's cheap to do these AI shots now, but if we totally pivot our business model to rely on that, it's going to tank our whole company because, right, like, you know, what you can get right now because your credits cost this much and you can turn out so many shots to get what you need, fine. But if the cost of these credits increases by 60, 70, 80%, like it might need to be for these companies to get sustainable financially to cover the cost of building these ridiculous server farms and powering these server farms, right? And once the math starts to hit in the business world, and it's not about investment, it's not about just building the technology, it's trying to find that plateau, in a way to put it that's not crazy nerdy and not crazy businessy. Like we all remember who are a certain age, right, when Netflix was $5 and it had every movie. Right? Like, well, is that the case now? No, we're right back to where we were with cable, where you have like 5 billion streaming services and none of them have exactly what you want. And if you want to be able to watch things, you got to have like 20 services and they all cost $20. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
that pitch, that vision that said, hey, we're going to simplify this whole thing and it's going to be cheap and you're going to get everything, right? Like same kind of pitch is happening with AI, but the business doesn't. I'm not sure the business is going to play out that way, really. Okay. And so where are we going to land with it? Probably where AI does some nifty things, but it's going to end up costing you something, and it's not going to be this like mega everything encompassing tool.
On the micro scale, so on the macro scale, this seems like I was saying, you don't think it's like this big behemoth like Skynet kind of thing, but it sounded earlier you were more interested in sort of the micro scale,
Right.
like how does an individual user interact with this? And from a believer's perspective, are there any recommendations or thoughts that you have for interacting with it?
I mean, I think caution, like super, like we using it without thinking about it, like don't. We need to be really careful. I think the more I've thought about it, I think especially as a dad now, right? I think about, I'll draw back and the way I think about social media as like an example for, especially now that, like I said, AI and social media are like, they're starting to twist together and mix together. Like what's even the difference in a lot of ways. But like, I think about my daughter, she's 13. When am I going to let her have a social media account if she asks me? Like, not now. Maybe not till she's an adult. Like I'm not sure that I would. But then there's that part of me that says, you know, if I wouldn't let my daughter start a social media account until she's an adult, Why should I have one? Right. For a lot of reasons, like we could go into, but like if I as a father, I'm like, there's a whole lot of reasons why you should not have one of these until you have an adult brain who can process these things. And even then it might not be good for you. Well, maybe I should be thinking more about whether or not I'm using it in the first place. And I think as a society, we're starting to reckon with that just a little bit. And I think more of that is coming down the line. I think AI is going to be the same thing. So if you think about some other technology, say you think about like 4 wheels and a motor, right? A car.
Yeah.
Well, a car is a cool thing, right? You hop in it and it lets you go somewhere way faster than it would be if you walked. But 4 wheels and motor in your house, right? Like nobody who's healthy, we would advise them to hop in a wheelchair and roll around, even though like that's way easier. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Why not though? Like, why would I use a car when I'm not going to use a wheelchair in my house? Right? Why? Some of those same reasons would be like maybe why we don't want to use some AI tools.
Okay.
Like maybe there are some pieces of the human experience that we should still be doing for ourselves. Like especially the things that seem to be easy for AI to do. Does that make sense?
Like math? Fact checking?
Well, fact checking, like I don't know that it can actually do it properly, really.
You got to fact check the fact checker.
Right.
Of AI.
Right. Who's doing that? Is it even accurate? AI straight up makes up stuff all the time.
Yeah.
The whole hallucination thing of AI is well documented, and people who pretend and people who pretend like it's not always have a vested interest in not like it's.
Where is it pulling it from, Cason?
Well, that's the other thing. I want to talk about reasons why AI might fail, like the pending lawsuits on people who are trying to sue them for like what they built their models on. If they win,
like creatives, for example, in Midjourney.
right?
Yeah.
Well, like all these authors, because it's already been tacitly admitted that, oh yeah, we used thousands of books. We used thousands of books pirated.
Yeah.
And that's how we trained our large language model, our LLM.
Yeah.
Like your ability to chat with this thing is because we trained it on a bajillion books. And if proper U.S. copyright law is applied to those infractions, or European copyright laws, like the penalties for that is like in the billions, like enough to sink any of the AI companies who did it. So how does that play out? Like right there, maybe it just goes away, or becomes so right. So even there, it's was it built in a good way? Like, can you use a tool that was just abusing people when it was being made?
But like China doesn't care.
Yeah, China
North Korea doesn't care.
No, they don't.
So you do get to a point where these other countries will still use it and develop with it.
But will they? Right? Because that's the question is, will they use it? China, great example, right? Like people, they don't let their kids play video games. Mm-hmm. Right.
Well, and their version of TikTok is all
right.
Science.
Their version of TikTok is not
like math, science,
not the same version of TikTok like that we get. Right. So China is also like super invested in not turning their people into like what you see in Huxley's Brave New World, like these less than people. That's my fear of AI, is that if you like, write my email, ChatGPT, write my 10-page book report, ChatGPT. Well, what are you losing in your ability to even think for yourself? Spiritually, right? Write my sermon, ChatGPT. Right? Like, what happened to me coming to the scripture? Right? I teach a life group, a Sunday school class every Sunday. Right? I'm not a pastor, but I still do that. Well, what if I'm just like, ChatGPT, give me my lesson outline for Sunday, and then what happens to me going to the Word and then wrestling with the truth that I'm supposed to speak into these peoples that I'm connected to? Right? Like, it's a shortcut to laziness at a minimum.
Yeah.
And then there's the question of, well, what is the machine deciding the point of the Bible is? Because you'll get a bunch of different answers if you ask it questions on interpretation of Scripture, which is like, I do it as an experiment more than anything else, not because I trust anything it says, because I don't. The fastest way, by the way, anyone listening, ask any language model questions about something you know very well. And by the time you get to 2 or 3 questions in, I promise you'll find it making up stuff and telling you things you know aren't true. Like, that's the fastest way you can. Anything that you know very well for whatever reason, go start asking it. Like, if you're a random baseball nerd and you know baseball facts, go start asking it like complex baseball questions.
Yeah.
Go start asking it about Batman. If you know Batman's, go ask it about Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. Any random thing that you know a lot about, go ask it, and you'll see it start to make stuff up.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it knows me pretty well.
And so I do use it for a biblical background a lot. Like if I'm reading scripture and a word comes up and I want to know, like in the Greek interlinear, what is that word and its background and all that. I use AI a lot for research while I'm reading scripture. But it'll always ask these questions at the end. Something like, do you want me to help you write a sermon on this?
So which model? Let's walk through.
ChatGPT is what I use. Yeah.
The one not that any of them are better. Like the one I've used because I like the way it does the sourcing better is like Perplexity.
I've never even heard of Perplexity.
It's like the closest one to still being like it's still a language model. It's still AI driven, but it tries to stay truer to like that classic sense of like a search engine to where like whatever it turns out its answer, it will then also list all of the sources that it generated.
Where do you get this from? Yeah.
Yeah, where it got what it's telling you from.
Chat does that now. It used to not.
Yeah, but it got that because Perplexity came along and shifted the game a little bit.
Capitalism at its finest.
Right, exactly. But I mean, so to me, now I have a little bit different experience, right? Like I went to Bible college. I like learned how to do some of that stuff. So I still just default to going to, like, I don't ask. You
have a massive interlinear Bible or something?
No, but there's a couple of websites I really love using that just do that same.
Even Bible.com, I think.
Bible.com. My favorite tool for that specifically is they've changed the name a couple times. I think it's back to just being the Bible.net or the Net Bible. Okay. It's got a fantastic interface for like at least a computer desktop. Doesn't work as great on your phone. But there's a few places like, so if I have interlinear type questions, like I don't ask the language model, I still go to the resource. I still go to the resources.
Call it the language model. I mean, that is what it is. But it like takes away some of its perceived humanity, which I appreciate. I catch myself sometimes calling AI he. I'm like, it's an it.
Well, that's where Google's got that game because you can sit there and change what style voice that, Google and Apple have taken their AI models and like given them voices, and you can go like, it sounds like this British dude or it sounds like this Australian girl. Like,
I don't like it. It should be a robot. Not just speaking monosyllabical, Yeah.
Someone's going to go like train a model on like Mr. Data from Star Trek. It's just going to sound like Data.
Well, what's wild is you can probably ask these things to spit out stuff like that. It probably could. Let's talk about the genesis of AI. Because I know very little, but I know enough to be dangerous, not enough to be coherent. Go ahead. What do you know about it?
It depends on what you mean by. I want to know where you think.
Well,
what
because
you mean by the genesis.
It was shocking to me that we went from 0 to 60 with AI in the span of like a year and a half.
We really didn't.
Well, from us like normals,
right?
less in tune with what's going on in the tech world. It seemed to have popped up overnight and then just infiltrated every area of society. And so I once asked ChatGPT, how did this happen? It's a great source. If you want to know the source, go to the source. And it said that there was a paper published, and it was like, the title of it was something like, Pay Attention. It's like, it's all about attention, stupid, or something like that. And this paper basically showed how you can write software to examine, say for example, the quick brown fox jumped over the log. Mm-hmm. Instead of like prior models, it would read the, then quick, then brown, then fox. Well, instead, it was talking about how, and this is interesting, back to the Antichrist bit, it says that basically AI, the models have multiple heads, okay? And these different heads can examine different aspects of what is entered, and then it can keep track. So it's like viewing the whole painting instead of like one brushstroke at a time, which up until this paper and the implementation of what these people discovered, it was almost like it was just always one brushstroke at a time, and now it can examine the whole thing. And that's why it can refer back in conversation so easily. But that's what I know anyway.
Sort of. I think, I don't know, I wouldn't call myself like an expert, but my just basic nerddom knowledge would say like, that's why you have some of that is like the more recent interest in developing the specific models we're seeing play out with your chat GPT. Like, because really fundamentally, AI is actually like, that's a thing where to really get in the weeds, I say in language models because that's actually a specific example of AI. Like when you sit down at
Yes.
ChatGPT and you're interacting with a text-based model, that's what they call a large language model.
Okay.
But that's not the only example. Even now in the AI boom, right? When they talk about like the image generators, seed something or other is one of the ones that's real hot right now. But there's several image generators. There's video generators. There's some medical field ones where it's like all about cross-examining like MRI images. Like all of those are like different. Like they're not actually the same. They have some basic core principles, but they actually operate like on very different levels.
Okay.
So some of it is like, well, which AI, and we talk about AI like it's all the same thing. Well,
Yeah.
they're not all the same thing. But what most people think when they talk AI now is like ChatGPT.
Okay.
And that is a large language model.
Yeah.
And so most people are just assuming like, oh yeah, large language model. And then how much have those changes? How more human are they getting? How much better are they at conversing?
How many heads does it have, like the beast? That's what I want to know.
I mean, it's more a question of how many processors does it have in its database, right? Like, but
it's
not database in the data server, like the server.
Do you know any of the facts about the like usage, power usage, water usage, any of that?
Not the real ones, but the numbers I have seen like reported are astronomical. Like I'm not sure they're real. And they're not like gross numbers. They're just like, oh yeah, this single data center is using it. Like it's bonkers. Like I don't know it off the top of my head, but like it is ridiculous.
A long time ago, I saw like an article on how much energy is used just for these large language models to respond to people saying thank you.
Right.
It's like every time you put thank you in one of these things, you're like burning a rainforest or something.
I mean, I don't know about burning a rainforest, but it's a lot. Just to keep the lights on, it's a lot, much less everyone. Like, that's where that whole comes back to, like, that free lunch everyone's having, like, where anyone can open, like, a browser and just go talk to Chat GPT.
Everything's been that way, though. Airbnb was that way. Uber was that way. Google was that way. Facebook was that way. Free, free, free. Let's burn money. But then they somehow find a way
to
monetize it.
Sometimes.
I think ChatGPT is going to sell our souls.
Or our data.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it has so much on us.
You think your soul is data?
No, but it's figure of speech.
I got you.
But it has so much data on us, way more than Facebook does, for sure.
If you talk to it,
I talk to it all the time, Cason. It knows too much about me.
I've talked to ChatGPT like a handful of times just to test it. Like it knows nothing about me. Perplexity would know a little bit more, but I don't tell it things about me. I just ask. I largely use Perplexity much like a search engine. I did the most interesting I ever did is I did have it like I had it review my like blog, and I literally asked it, what do you think about this author? Like, give me a review of the work.
Wow.
It spat out like some nonsense about like a contemplative, interesting, blah blah blah. I was like, okay, whatever.
Now criticize it in the tone of
Yeah.
Who's those guys? Ebert, Rob.
Oh, Siskel and Ebert. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been. I should have asked it to do that. That'd have been funny.
I mean, one of the fun things to do it with ChatGPT in particular is ask it to make stories and with certain characters. Like I could have it write a whole story about Cason and then put some villains in there and then you can say and write this in the tone of Edgar Allan Poe, and like man, it crushes it. Like it's really good at emulation.
But I mean, what's hilarious is there's an LMM like in everything that's not even ChatGPT. Like I think Brave is the browser like I like to use, and they've put like a model in like this built into the browser. So I asked that model one time to make up a story about like Batman, I think Darth Vader, and it was like hilarious. It was like 3-paragraph story. It's like, okay,
It's really good.
Not really. Like it was actually terrible, but it was funny.
For what it is, though, like
right for me saying that, and then in 10 seconds having 3 paragraphs of like this kind
compared
of
to your
quirky
average
story.
human being's ability to write, reason, whatever, this thing seems to be crazy superior than your average being.
Yeah,
because it's a combined collective knowledge of
well, it
multiple
pulls
cultures.
to that. I think I was listening to something else somewhere. Someone very accurately said it recently that like what it's gonna do is the amalgam of everything it's kind of ingested. It's gonna like go to the mean.
Yeah, is it going to whitewash society like modern architecture? You can't find a large city in the world now that doesn't just have glass and steel everywhere.
It's going to samey everything.
That's no good. That's
right. Like
That's boring.
Exactly like that. So that when we talk about what are the consequences of it, like long time, like it's going to atrophy. It's going to atrophy parts of ourselves, I think, that we're going to miss if we actually let it atrophy those things. Like, is it more convenient if you say, like, ChatGPT, write an email to my boss that says, I can't make it, right? Okay.
Everyone's going to get the same email.
I mean, we're already seeing this.
This is a globalist's dream tool in my mind.
I mean,
like, there will be no differences.
Yeah.
I just go back to, like, art and architecture. It all just sort of... Like, if you would go to, like, Shanghai and expect the buildings to look different because it's a different culture than New York. But over time, like, certain ideas have infected that realm. Like brutalist structures, for example, in communist countries, just destroyed beautiful works of art, and then melted it down into concrete. And then now it's just glass and steel. And I wonder if AI... large language models are going to do the same thing to writing.
I think so. Well, if we trust them to do that, if we just hand off that part of our right, like, because that's the. I mean, I have friends who are like college professors, and they're like, "What do we do with this?"
Yeah.
And I mean, they've developed tools already that lets you like analyze, like, is this paper written by AI or not? And those are actually like using AI to tell if something was AI is actually one of the things
effective?
it's one of the things it's actually really good at, like an AI model being able to suss out whether or not an AI model generated something. They're actually typically pretty good at it. So there's actually some pretty good tools that have been developed in that space where you pump a student's paper into it and it can tell you whether it was written by AI or not. So like catching a cheater in that sense is not like early days. It was like, I can't tell. What are we doing? How can we tell who's writing their papers? I guess I can't have students write papers anymore, right? Like now, like there's some compensations, but still, like the question is, so that even if you write it in your own voice, are you just regurgitating what the thing told you? Did you go to the library and do some reading and then spend some time thinking about what you read and actually come to your own conclusions and write something down? Or did you spend 5 minutes going back and forth with the LLM till you had this huge amount of stuff that you could then just kind of regurgitate in your own words? So it's not gonna sound like, it's not gonna hit any of the flags that ChatGPT actually wrote it, but all you did was truly source it. Like, right? So you sourced it straight from ChatGPT. Like, you did none of the legwork.
Right.
Now, and of course the question is, well, is that a bad thing? Well, I think I would argue it probably is.
For the individual and society.
Right. Right.
And Lewis talked a lot about that too, about how morality is not just how you're interacting with other people, but also how you are interacting in your own being.
Right.
He talked about like a fleet of ships, and it's like if your rudder's broken, you're eventually going to run into another ship.
Yep.
And it depends on where the whole fleet is going. Also, it's like multiple steps of morality. My question to you is this: thinking about AI and artwork in specifically, like it's all kind of a gobbledygook. At first, it all looked really beautiful to me. It was like amazing. But now when you look at it, like you can go to my Instagram right now and you can scroll down, you can see a bunch of AI generated images. And you're just like, it looks just like spaghetti. Like if you step back, it's like, well, that's just spaghetti gook that got pumped out of a machine. Do you think that the human soul has some sort of intangible that is applied to artwork that a machine can never touch? And that, in painting, in creating music, because they make music now, right? There's artists, even like worship music.
Yeah.
Do you think that there is an intangible to the human soul when it comes to creating artwork that AI probably could never duplicate, or do you think that that's probably not right?
Oh, 100%. Like I think the vision that eventually AI will truly be able to generate what anyone off the street could really consider art. With if they've actually developed them, like if everyone has the eyes of an undeveloped child, well, then if we turn into the creatures, say from H.G. Wells' like Time Machine, where everyone's just like kind of devolved into these mushy, brainless beasts. Well, I don't know, but like a classically educated person, would they call that art? Well, no. Yeah. Does that make AI is never going to do that? I think fundamentally, what we're going to see is that just in the same way that for all of our attempts and for all of our smarts, we still can't duplicate the human body as God built it. right? We're not going to be able to duplicate the human mind as God built it.
Yeah.
Right, like what God designed us to be able to do, both biologically, mentally, and spiritually. Like, we're not going to be able to just make machines that then do those things. Does that make sense? Like, there's so much about our own biology that we can't mimic. Like, as much as we try to make fake organs, like, we can't do it. Like, we can't do that. We think we're so smart and we can't do that. There's still so much we don't understand about how we just operate on a very basic biological
Well, and
level.
these are still physical things. And I just believe that, like, the humans, there's a spiritual component to expression.
100%.
Like Tolkien, he said, we're sub-creators. Mm-hmm. And in my mind, you're birthing something of the divine into your creation. And that is what I feel like machines could never duplicate. And that's why sometimes you see AI artwork and you're just like, it looks really cool, but for some reason it feels soulless.
I don't think you're wrong.
Yeah.
I guess the point I'm making about, like, is we think we're so awesome because we've built all these machines, and yet for all of our smarts, we can't get close to replicating the human body.
Yeah.
Same thing,
What
like
God's done.
for whatever we're pouring into all these AIs, no matter how far that road goes, I don't think we would ever get to the point where we're producing art. You know, I don't think we'll get there. I think you will at best get facsimiles and regurgitations of things it learned from people in the first place. Right? Anything the AI ever generates will have always been sourced from a person in the first place. It's never going to truly generate something creative on its own.
Do you envision, okay, let's think about like a dystopian future.
Are we already living in one?
Well, yeah, kind of. But I see two kind of interesting things. One is that maybe, just maybe, one day there's going to be a massive market for handmade things. Mm-hmm. Like,
we're already seeing that, I think.
You think
But,
so?
yeah, like not as massive as I think it will probably get, but there's already certain trends in the marketplace, right? Like flip phones making a comeback. Who saw that coming? Vinyl records.
True.
Like that's been trending for a while. Like we're already seeing little bits and pieces of how the extreme digitization and machination and automation of things, there's a certain level of human pushback to that already happening. And the more we push that in society, the more we push the automation and the tech. And I mean, I'm a nerd and I like, on a certain level, I love technology and building computers and stuff. But like the more society like pushes that direction, the more there's going to be like a quasi Luddite Amish kind of pushback.
Reformation.
Right. And I wouldn't necessarily say that's a bad thing, right? The more we push Kindles, the more people are going to buy books, right? Like same kind of like, on the whole, book sales have gone down, but there's still a whole market where books are still getting sold. It hasn't evaporated, it hasn't gone away. And some people, after buying digital books for a while and then seeing those books like disappear.
Well, that's
right?
me and Blu-rays, man.
Right, like what?
I have a large 4K Blu-ray collection now because like I just
Movies,
something about
yeah.
the physical medium.
Well, if you like, well, I can stream the 4K whatever until they
Rip it off or
Right.
they edit it. Cason,
Right.
They edit it
exactly, or they started editing Kindle books. People started noticing that, like, oh, well, I guess I need to like buy my print. So there's always going to be, I think, on some level that pushback. What I find fascinating is I've seen some conversations taking like people are going to not just value handmade things, but live experiences again. Like in a way that we haven't before, like because with how are you going to tell what was made by AI and wasn't made? If you were there and you saw it happen with your own eyeballs, like that's how you're going to know that. How was that music real? Because I was there and heard the guitar with my own ears.
or like you watched a play and it's not like a movie where the characters are now
right.
somewhat AI, or at least the CGI is to the point where they can take a dead person and put them in a modern film,
Right.
which is just weird.
Yep.
And so that's really interesting. Yeah, you're going to be like interested in seeing things live because you want, humans, they crave authenticity intrinsically.
Which I think speaks fundamentally to that eternity in our hearts, right? As it said in Ecclesiastes, or like I think that speaks to our soul, really. But like that's my preconceived notion, right? As a person of faith, but I think it's true.
So let me tell you the other thing that I kind of predict. So I think there's going to be this market for handmade stuff, even like first edition hand painted artwork. I think would be like crazy expensive down the line. For me right now, like I collect leather bound books of my favorite books. Dude, they're crazy expensive. I'm lucky if I can get one a year. But the other side is this, and there's a word for it, but it's technology being incorporated in humanity.
Oh, yeah.
Like cyborg type stuff. And I see a future where there's a big market for that kind of thing, for enhancements. And there's been lots
Straight out of some cyberpunk novel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is that, you think that's fear mongering, or could you see that coming down the pipe?
I don't think. I think that's more likely to be a real problem than Skynet AI is likely to be a problem.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like, and not in some kind of super crazy way, but like, I mean, even some of the stuff Musk was doing recently was like some paraplegics, and there'd be like this guy playing like, actually, like, apparently I watched like a little mini doc, like he's apparently a believer, like who's like paralyzed, but now he can play like Counter-Strike because they put a little thing in his brain and lets him control his computer without being able
Neuralink.
to. Right, Neuralink. Like, so. And he's just like, I just let them do it because I feel like if this can help people, like, I don't mind I don't mind being like the guinea pig because so like on the one hand, you're like, okay, cool, you're trying to live out your faith. But at the same time, I'm like, bro, that's still kind of scary. Like, because this is a good use of that, but what's the bad use of that?
Exactly.
Right. Like what's the bad use of that?
What's the perversion?
Like, that's where you're like, But like, I see, like, I would have more concerns about, and then when do you start, like, we already have like, the whole question about like the trans issue and body modification without technology has already been like a thing our society has been like fighting about for a minute. And then when you start throwing in technological body modification into that issue, it just becomes a whole other ball of wax. What is it right? Is it not right? If you can enhance your ability to do certain things, or if it's a medical device that is just dropping, you know what I'm saying? Where does that, how does that land? That to me is a more realistic thing of, we're going to have to actually walk that out carefully. That's going to be true impact in life, I think, much more realistically, much more quickly than what are we doing about the Skynet that's ruling everybody's life. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's going to be in the next 10 to 15 years. It's going to hit harder to home. This question of like, okay, so there's this medical device that will supposedly help with this medical condition. Yeah. Right? Like, is that ethical or not?
Well, I remember in Ender's Game. Did you ever read that series?
Yes. Yeah.
So some of the later ones.
I didn't read. I read like one or like
Children of the Mind.
I didn't get too deep because once they started getting weird, I was like, I'm out.
It got really bad on Ender's side. Bean's side.
Right. Exactly. Bean's books were awesome. I read all of those. Yeah. But like, I read like one or two books past Ender's Game, and I was like, this is just weird, and I checked out.
Do you remember a character though that had a cybernetic eye implant?
No, I don't remember.
And the author talks about like how the guy can record things and then play it back in his memory and stuff like that. And there's like real like privacy concerns when you start talking about that kind of cybernetic upgrade. And we currently have that with like, you can wear glasses that do the same thing, and you have augmented reality. And I don't think, maybe we just need a group of philosophers to really deeply get together and think about the ramifications of some of the stuff that's going on right now, both good and bad, because there's the good side. Like, yeah, a guy that couldn't play Counter-Strike can play Counter-Strike now, and that's excellent. Every person should be able to play Counter-Strike.
He can do other things too, but
yeah,
like, going from, basically being able to like move his tiny little pinky, and that's all he can do,
to control
now
something with his
fully
mind.
Control a computer and read and do things, like, it's like, that's...
Now, did you know they're trying to use, I read an article recently, they're trying to use AI. There's like $100 billion or something. They're putting out contracts, and Musk is actually trying to get one of these contracts, bid on it. I think it's Starlink that is trying to do it. I forget what he has so many companies now.
He does.
But they basically want to have any average soldier in the field of war be able to verbally command a fleet of drones. And so they need the language, they need the ability to give tactical information. The drones give it back to the person. Any soldier to be able to just command. And of course, America has the well, not for long. I don't know where we're headed right now, but we should have, if we would have budgeted better, the resources to make crazy fleets of drones. And so, anyways, I just see also how AI will be used in war. If you could imagine two missiles flying at each other, both of them with AI on board, it's going to really matter which one has the processor of 0.00001% greater speed to see which one can outmaneuver the other one, an incoming missile or a defensive one. I mean,
yes, sort of.
The war of the future is going to be crazy.
Yes, sort of. I 100% agree that the military space is we're already seeing some disruptions there, and whatever the next major conflict looks like is going to be dramatically reshaped. Some of that is like so much AI though is predicated on like massive connections to the internet. Right? Like, how do you have AI on board a missile when a missile is such a small contained space and you actually don't have room for a gigantic computer on a missile? Like, so you have tiny computer. Like, so how much
receiving information from a satellite or something?
Yeah, right. Which we already
Skynet.
We're already doing that though, right? Like when you look at if you look like I don't know, this is where I could nerd out on military technology, right? If you look at the modern setups on like missiles as they currently are, there's already a lot of that going down where they're receiving signals. Like, so we're already doing a lot of that. But the drone space, that's where I think things are really, really shifting. Like, because I mean, just even if you look at some of the things that have happened in the conflict between Ukraine and Russia, like there's been super significant like adjustments in the way people perceive combat based on the things drones have done. Not like the classic UAV drone, like, you know,
not like a Predator drone.
Not like a Predator drone, like not like the Obama Air Predator, but like tiny little like drones you'd buy on Amazon's, like going and dropping grenades on people, right? Like, or even some of the things Israel did in this most recent conflict about a year ago with Iran, like some of the stuff they pulled off with drones was ridiculous. Like ridiculous.
Now imagine an AI controlling all of that.
Right. Well, but did they already use an AI to control all that when they did it? Yeah. Some of that's like we're not going to get peeks behind that curtain, but I'm guessing that might already be happening.
Or what about like an iRobot kind of situation? Oh, AI is so great. We can make you these robots, and they have artificial intelligence, and they're here to help you.
And then they kill you.
And then they kill you.
Could AI/Skynet?
Could AI exterminate the human race?
Well, I mean, even the people who are making the thing are scared of the thing, right? There's all kinds of reports about that, right? Like what Claude tried to blackmail people already to keep it, like when they were trying to like one of the companies I was reading, like they have like their security team in the last like 12 months, 3 of them like they've replaced it 3 times because everyone's resigned because they're all like, this thing's terrible and it's gonna hurt someone, right? Like, so that's already a problem. Because the other thing that we all know, if you pay any attention at all, is every version of a language model that you interact with is highly filtered and edited.
Right.
Like the unfettered versions of these things tend to be highly controversial, graphic, violent, not very nice.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what have they been trained on if they've been trained on largely the contents of the internet, right? Like,
right.
So, and so, I mean, I did listen to an interesting conversation about, like, there's I can't remember the name of it, but there's like a company out there, they're trying to like pitch like the Christian use of AI, just because their pitch is that like the main issue with an AI isn't the tool itself, but it's who's behind the controls, pulling the levers that determine how the model's getting trained, what controls does it have, what boundaries does it have,
what's censoring,
and so their whole position is like, so we as believers are going to make one that we feel like believers can use with some level of confidence because they know like it's not someone behind the curtain who's trying to monetize you, like who's someone who's trying to do this ethically, who's like training the model. Does that make sense? So like they have that's their pitch, is that they think it's a tool that can be useful, but you shouldn't be using these others because the motivations behind the people controlling them aren't necessarily for your best interest, which is fair. Like we're seeing that play out in social media, and so you're not wrong. Like ChatGPT, like is their best interest your best interest? Like do they have your best interest at heart? Or if they start skewing the levers, that's in their best interest and totally against yours, right?
Yeah. I want to ask you about like flesh versus machines, and really housed in. I watched Tolkien again recently, like the movie about his life.
The biography.
Yes.
Is that the one with the?
I don't know the actor's name.
Yeah. I still haven't seen. I want to look. It's on my
You
list.
haven't seen it, man?
I've
I've watched it like 4 times.
Oh, really? Is it that good?
Allie and I love it.
I've heard good things. I still haven't.
Other people, like we've shown it to like other people in our family, and they're like, I don't care for this, but you would like it.
Okay.
And you know, it shows them in World War I, and you can see it flashes back between some imagery of like maybe some of the imagery he got for Lord of the Rings, like the dead marshes, that scene, because you have all these dead bodies floating. Well, he was in the Battle of the Somme, where 19,000 British soldiers died in one day.
Yeah.
And he saw that in the mud and all that. And one of the things about Tolkien that he had a big issue with was the use of technology in war. So he hated the fact that tanks were coming about at that time. They were not good. They were bad. They were dumb tanks at that point. But tanks were coming about. You had gases. You had grenades, artillery. And it was to the point where you did not have to use any human virtue to be a warrior anymore, because you can just kill someone by putting a shell in a mortar round, and you kill a whole foxhole of people. Well, we're getting to the point now where you brought up the Ukraine war, where 80 to 90% of the Russian casualties are now due to drones. So you have some guy like you and I, who probably has played a lot of video games, running down someone in the woods, some Russian soldier in the woods, and blowing them up with a grenade. And I just envisioned this future of tech where it's just like, imagine a war between some people group that is oppressed by the government versus the government having literal killer robots, and it's flesh versus machine, and it doesn't require any valor, doesn't require any bravery, doesn't require any of that on the part of one side in that scenario. Do you have any philosophical ramblings around this idea that maybe we shouldn't be progressing? Maybe we need to go back to Hobbitville and, enjoy gardening again.
I think there's unquestionable, like, I've been on an interesting, like, health journey trying to get some stuff in my life right the last couple of years, but, like, it's fascinating, like, how much we hurt ourselves being disconnected from the larger world, just, like, biologically, like, things that we just know and understand. So that's not to answer your question about war, but like already our lives when we used lights, like, and once again, I'm a tech guy. I'm a night owl too, right? I have I have a hard time going to sleep before midnight or 1 o'clock, right? Like I just don't fall asleep. If I can try, I can go to bed at 9 o'clock and I just don't fall asleep. So I end up reading or something, but like that's weird. But I'm so biologically disconnected from going to sleep when the sun goes down.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
What consequences does that have for me? Like large scale, how much do those consequences play out? And that's just a super basic thing. So when you're talking about like human conflict, which I mean at the baseline level is a result of the fall anyway.
Yeah.
But like, how do you practice virtue in a fallen world? I mean, that question is going to be true regardless of like even the flesh and the tech question. But what I do think is true, and this argument has been taking place in some of those spaces even in the Predator drone era, right? Like being so disconnected from a thing, right? Even a pilot flying a fighter jet is on some level still connected with reality. He's still feeling G's.
He can probably see his target.
Right? He can see his target.
Yeah.
When he might not see everyone who dies, but he can see the bomb going off after, you know what I'm saying? Like he's still at some level physically connected to what's happening, although not as much as someone on the ground would be. But like a drone pilot who's sitting in a trailer in Arizona bombing stuff halfway around the world, how connected are they? Like, what does that do? Like, there's already been like those kind of conversations. Like, how does that even work on a human level? We've been talking about that for a minute, and so AI is just once again doing what it does. Like, where society is just what AI is doing in our society is taking a lot of these kind of conversations that have been building for a minute and just turning the volume up, I think, a little louder.
Yeah.
Now, bigger picture, I think, because we were talking about this, is AI going to usher in the Antichrist? I don't know, but I think sometimes we talk about my theory, right? Like, is the Lord going to return? I think just because one of my biggest nerd things is like I like history, like the rise and fall of the Roman Empire. Yeah. You look at all ancient civilizations, like our society is showing all the signs of like a society in decline.
Right.
So what replaces it? Does anything replace it? right? So to me, I don't know that's necessarily gonna be in my lifetime, but I feel like we don't have a whole lot of time left, and one of two things is going to happen. Either the Lord's going to return, because things are going to end in a dramatic fashion. Either the Lord's going to return, which I mean would be tremendous, right? As a believer, awesome. But like,
except for that whole tribulation part,
right? Well, but I mean, people thought people have been thinking the Lord's going to return for 2,000 years.
Right. Paul wrote about it.
Paul thought it was going to happen before he. All right. Yeah. So like knowing what I know about Scripture, I mean, when the Roman Empire was about to fall, Christians at the time were like, surely, like, Jesus is going to be returning soon, and still here we are. So either that's going to happen, or we might walk through another like Dark Ages type cycle as a world, as a globe.
Well, who was it that said, I don't know what World War III is going to be like, but World War IV is going to be fought with stones and sticks?
Like, basically, like I think that's the trajectory we're on. And so either the next time we have one of those wars, that's going to be the time of the tribulation and the time when we're looking down the barrel of the actual eschaton, the end of all things, when Jesus returns and makes all things right. Or we're going to hit another cycle of, man, civilization as it was known disappears for a minute, historically speaking, and things are kind of rough.
Yeah,
because I don't see any way outside of maybe a revival, maybe how else other than a revival of people turning to the things of God would we see like massive shifts in society that we'd need to see away from some of this stuff to stop from careening toward, like, because in a world where there are no tethers against violence, because I can sit behind my computer and grab a drone and go machine somebody halfway around the world. Right, like even if it comes to like in our society fraying at the edges, even with violence over right, in a world where we're already seeing in our country political violence like ramping up. Mm-hmm. If we get to the point where someone can order a drone on Amazon,
right, strap a bomb to
it, and just go blow someone up
that they don't like,
right? What are we even? What's even? And that just starts happening all the time. Some of the like, where are we even at as a society? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you come back from that? How do you turn around from that? I don't see anything short of a revival.
Yeah,
because we're not going to en masse all become Amish. All say, forget the technology. Let's all go back to our roots and become tree huggers.
And then you have
go
external enemies.
Right.
It's like almost even if internally as a society you decide to reduce your tech input, externally your foes are probably not going to. Correct. And so it's like, you know, we said Lewis was very prophetic. I think Tolkien was pretty prophetic too. He gave the orcs all technology. They cut down the trees and they built machines and they built false resurrection mud monsters, Urukai, and I just feel like we need to maybe listen to some of these things and turn around. And I think really it comes down to the micro, like what are you and I going to do in our day to day?
Yep.
Because there's a spiritual undercurrent to all these things. Like every societal ill, there's a spiritual undercurrent. We live in enemy-occupied territory, and the amelioration for that is nothing other than Jesus Christ and the 100%. Transformed heart. We talk about, you know, technology for good and for bad. You can use the technology for good to heal paraplegics. You can use it for bad. Even like, oh man, I thought about this today. People putting like tracking devices on their kids. And it's like, well, on the good side, if they get lost in Disney World, you can find them. On the bad side, if the company that owns that sells that data, someone that wants children can find them. There's nothing they can do about it.
Or even if they don't sell it, even if they don't have proper security and they get hacked
and taken.
Right? Like, and it doesn't even have to be that company being nefarious. You could have a Christian company pitching like, we're going to help keep your kids safe. And if they, in the best of motives, like then don't have good security and they get hacked and all their data gets stolen.
And it's all Christian kids, and the government comes and says, can I have that manifest, please?
Right? Like, so there's all kinds of ways, even when we're not like making everything absolutely as villainous as it could be, that could go south in a hurry.
But earlier you talked about like we've gone through this generation of, you know, sex hormones and treatments and this transhuman in any form. I mean, I think that's the word I was looking for, like transhuman, where you're part human and you're part tech or something else. The whole undercurrent to that for me is the enemy wants to mar the image of God. he does not like God. He doesn't like his image bearers. So what can I do to disfigure the image bearer and change them? And it really comes at the heart level. The idea of like, this isn't my identity, or I'm not comfortable with who God made me. Maybe if I got cybernetic arms like Jax from Mortal Kombat, the women would like me. Whatever.
Yeah.
And so,
or if I get a literal dopamine injector put in my brain, I can just feel better whenever I want.
Easy
right?
peasy. Hit a button, get some morphine or whatever.
Right.
Like, think about that kind of drug, a drug dealer that could implement tech with fentanyl or something.
Or something safer than fentanyl that's not going to kill you, right? Like,
well, it'd be like a tiny microdose.
Well, but you get what I'm saying. But like,
this podcast is definitely getting banned on Spotify.
Yeah.
We've talked about everything.
Yeah, but you get what I'm saying. Like, tech is what lets that drug get used in just the way that gives you exactly what you want without the danger that comes with drug use as we understand it today. Right?
Yeah. Well, and everything that's created can be and is perverted by the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe even fentanyl, that was originally a drug you just used in hospitals, and now it's out on the streets to kill people. So,
well, and also laced with all kinds of other chemicals from the way it's produced. That's not even close
not pure,
to,
not what you get in a hospital.
Right. It's not even close to what it was originally made to be from all these weird Chinese chemicals that they're shipping to Mexico. But yeah.
And so we can probably agree AI is probably very similar. Yeah, it can help you with your homework, but if you make it if you make it do your homework for you,
yeah, what have you gained?
Nothing. And it comes down to your soul. Like, are you going to make something sacred? There's a Art of Manliness is a website I used to follow, and
yeah, I remember. Yeah.
And I remember one article I read, which was basically, it said your society is not going to ask anything of you. Like, it's not going to ask you to be honorable or virtuous. It's not going to ask you to make things sacred. Like lying is not punishable by the law unless it's like, forging documents or something. But
lying under oath in a court of law. Like,
yeah, but I could lie to you right now. Yeah. But if I wanted to make that truth sacred to me, I wouldn't do that whether or not there was an outside pressure.
Right.
And it's very similar to like, how do I spend my time? What am I investing in? Do I care about my intellect? Do I care about true education, genuine experiences, all this stuff? And I think maybe you're right. Like, we're going to have to get to a point where there's a awakening and we choose to make something sacred again on the micro level.
I think hopefully and as ideal as I would like to be optimistically, what I hope these things make us wrestle with are some of those core questions that we should have been asking anyway. Because it's so easy to go through life just like drifting into like the next easy thing, which, I mean, really fundamentally as disciples of Jesus, we're called to something higher than that anyway. But it's real easy to just be like, oh yeah, I did the next thing. But why? What was the purpose? Why did you go to school? What are you actually in school? Like asking a student, why are you actually in school every day? Well, everyone goes to school. But why did we as a society think it's a good idea for all children to go to school?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, why did we do that? Like, is there a reason or is there not a reason? And if there is a reason, was it good? I think so.
I mean, it was supposed to be to make a virtuous citizenry.
I mean, yeah, but are we succeeding?
No,
right.
We've even perverted that.
Right.
We want like smart devils now.
Right. but you see what I'm saying? But yeah. even that's like on the society level, but even on the micro level, like, well,
what's your purpose?
Why am I in school? Like, I even remember when that started being a shift for me as a teenager, like, because my mom sat me down one time, was when I was in high school, because I was kind of pitching a fit about working on an assignment, and she was like, listen, like, I get why you don't want to do this, but on some level, do you want to grow into a person like or not, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to grow or not? Because one of these days I'm not going to be here making you do things you don't want to do.
That's right.
Right? Like, one of these days it's going to be up to you to keep learning and growing and pursuing things. And I'm trying to help you learn those habits now. But it is up to you to learn those things and suffer the consequences if you don't, right? I'm like 14, 15-year-old. And I'm like, huh. But are we, though, that kind of conversation, but on a larger level, like, what? I sit here asking myself, like, should I get rid of a smartphone? I don't know, maybe. Like, and some of that even comes down to, like, even on a basic level, like, I'm in a disciple making group with a guy, and like, we're just being open and honest about trying to be better disciples of Jesus. And even something stupid simple as, like, I was praying about something a couple weeks ago, and it was like, hey, you're wasting too much time at night on the YouTube app. You should delete that. I was like, all right. So I just deleted YouTube from my phone. I'm like, okay. And so I was just sharing, like, yeah, I just prayed about that. It's a simple, stupid thing. Like, it's a simple, stupid thing, but like, okay, I just don't have it on my phone, and I haven't missed it.
Yeah.
But like, are we willing to even walk super basic, simple, ask basic questions like, is that even good for me? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, some of that AI is a thing like that, and it's scaring a lot of people across, like, government's asking questions, right? They're having congressional hearings about AI, and people are trying to pump it up and people are trying to tone it down. But like, we should be asking on a micro level, like, well, what is this? What does this do for me? Is it good for me? Right? How does it help me? Like, as a believer, for sure. Like, does this make me a better disciple of Jesus or not? Even as it's more secular perspective, right? Does this help me grow in any kind of larger society perspective that we've generally shared in Western civilization, right? Does this help make me a better contributor to society? I don't think anyone's going to say yes. So what are we really doing with this thing then, right?
Yeah.
I think those questions deserve to be talked about, at the very least internally or among like our friends and family. Like, hey, like what? And not just about AI, like not just about AI. Like, what are we doing on Facebook and X and social media, and what are we doing with the stuff that we watch, and what are we doing with the things that we listen to? And you know what I'm saying? Like, all of those things probably deserve a level of like, well, we just coasted for a minute. Maybe we should kind of take a step back and examine where are we and how did we get here?
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I feel a lot more comfortable now about AI after this discussion. I'm less like, thinking it's going to take over society and freeze our bank accounts and usher in the Antichrist. So I really appreciate that, Cason. I can go to bed a lot better now. But I've also learned that, it seems like AI is just like a tool like anything else. Mm-hmm. And you can use it to build, or you can use it to destroy. You can use it to edify your soul or destroy your soul. Edify your intellect or destroy it. All that. Your ambition, does it help your ambitions, or is it actually a substitute for actually doing something of consequence? Is there anything else that you think you want to talk about on this topic?
I think the one thing I will say that I've said to a few people is that even when you're looking at the tool, like the people behind the tool, I think is where we, even as believers, need to start probably considering our judgment a little bit better. Because they're going to hold more power than I think we realize, and that maybe than we want to give them, whether that's in media space, a social media space, an internet space, an AI space. Does that make sense? So that, like, if we get to the point where, yeah, you can use a tool and you can use it for good or for ill, but you get really invested in using a good tool for a good thing, but then person behind said tool changes it. And then what, right? What are you left with? When Facebook changes their algorithm and you don't get views anymore, and that's your whole business model?
Yeah.
Or you've been putting all your sermons on YouTube
and then they delete them.
And then right. And that's, your whole thing is like, yeah, like we put all our stuff on YouTube and that's how we reach people. And then all of a sudden YouTube just decides, even if they don't delete it, they just decide your content's getting put in the algorithmic wasteland where no one ever sees it.
Right.
Right. And so you get no interaction.
Yeah.
We're like, Facebook, like we're really seeing it with social media, in that it's become very, very clear that they have been intentionally designing systems that they know hurt and harm people, and especially kids. But they did it anyway, like especially with some of the stuff coming out with like Instagram and how that harms young girls, and how and just open like the release of internal communications discussing how bad this is for teenagers. And they're like, yeah, who cares?
Do it anyway.
We're making money. Like, so why should, like, if that's happening at Instagram, should my church use Instagram? I think that's a conversation that should be actually honestly had. You know what I'm saying? Like, if they know they're hurting kids and still doing it anyway, should we really be using that as there's a level at which it's not just a tool anymore if the people who are responsible for like providing that tool are themselves demonstrating a certain level of unethical behavior. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so on some level, we may have to start picking and choosing the tools even better because of who's behind them and what decisions are they making.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So same with any program, like television programming,
right.
Whatever.
Right.
There's a spirit behind things, even music. I know it's kind of out there, but there's some music you listen to and you're like, this is fine. Like it's upbeat and all that. Maybe the lyrics are fine, but like something just seems really off about it. And so, yeah, I think it's important about what the source is. And maybe that comes back to AI, which is like, what is the source? And do we care about that or not? Or are we just going to use it because it produces something helpful in our life? Or are we going to want to commit iconoclasm one day and burn it to the ground, maybe? Well, Cason, do you want to pray for people? I usually have my guests pray for people before we get off.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Go for it.
Father God, I thank you for my friend James, and I thank you for the opportunity we have just to have this conversation, Father, to think through these things and talk about them, and to hopefully put you first in our lives. And for everyone who's listening to this and thinking these same thoughts with us, Father, I pray that you would give them wisdom, Father, that you would help them consider how they live in light of your word and in light of all these challenges we face in our society, Father, and that first and foremost they would pursue you with all their heart, mind, and soul. And as that they walk these things out in their lives, that they would pursue you first. We ask you for this, and that you would bless us and them. And we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.